Hi, everybody. This is Gaynor Meilke from Charisma Ink, and this is the Moving the Needle YouTube series. And I am joined by my co-host, John Higgins. Hi, John. How are you?
Hi, Gaynor. Doing well. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah. So on Moving the Needle, our purpose in these episodes is to provide you with some tools and tips and solutions to tackling and moving the needle in your firm around technology and other, I think, challenges that firms are having from a very practical standpoint and also a objective standpoint. John has a wealth of knowledge in the technology implementation and education space, as well as running a firm and being a CPA for over 40 years. So you've seen a lot come down the pike. And then from Charisma Inc., we work with a lot of firms on their strategy and planning and a lot of solution providers as well. So we kind of have a lay of the land of what's happening in firms and on the tech side. So we wanted to bring all of this together and address some of the hot topics so that you can have more of a deep dive and some action steps to take with you after each episode. And I guess we started with the hotbed of AI, right, John?
Yeah. Yeah, we hit it kind of technical just so everybody could have a foundational understanding of how it works. I think that's important to help demystify it.
Right. And I think that's been, if you haven't watched the first three episodes, I'd encourage you to go back and just look at sort of the big picture of AI in accounting. Then we went through, the generative AI, Gen AI, so I
There you
don't trip
go.
over my words, and what it is, and especially what it is through the lens of the accounting firm. And we just covered LLMs or the large language learning models, which, I mean, that was actually pretty fascinating to truly understand that when we're using these tools, how it all how all that information is getting into a place that can be used and how filtered it is and how accurate it is as well. So kind of some cautions, but also some really encouraging efficiencies that could be had. And now in this episode, we want to talk more about the future. And we've got some tools, we've covered those, how we can use them at a basic level in accounting firms. But now it's like what's on the horizon that as we're building out a plan for the next year to 5 years, we should be like on the lookout for, John.
Yeah, and this will kind of be the last talk where we're hitting the technology, the technical hard, and then I know we scheduled to then move into specific applications for this in an accounting firm. So we're looking forward to that. But yeah, just so we thought it'd be a good idea to just talk about where it looks like this generative AI is evolving to. And I think I'll start with like a quote from Sam Altman. I always watch a lot of YouTube videos to try to immerse myself in this technology and build my base of knowledge. And so I've watched Sam Altman on a lot of YouTube. Sam is the original co-founder of OpenAI, which is the developer of ChatGPT. And so he was being interviewed by a professor, I think it was at Stanford a month or two ago. And he said, the interviewer says, Sam, can you give us an idea of what's going to be the aha features in ChatGPT 5? That'll be the next release of ChatGPT. And then can you tell us what'll be the aha features in that and ChatGPT 6 and so on? And Sam was, very matter of fact. He said, all I can tell you, he wasn't trying to be coy or secretive. He says, all I can tell you is that ChatGPT 5 is going to be a lot smarter than ChatGPT 4. And ChatGPT 6 is going to be a lot smarter than ChatGPT 5. And, the idea is that the data set, we talked about in our last segment about how the data set gets built, how the fine tuning and the training and the fine tuning take place. All that technology is going to get better and better is basically the point he was making. And so that will also help with us to develop a better sense of confidence in the output that it's generating. But he said something also that I thought was very funny. He says, actually, to the interviewer, he says, actually, ChatGPT 4 and this is almost his exact words were, is an embarrassingly crummy application. And I'm hearing this, I'm thinking, wait a minute. You're the owner, you're the founder and inventor, developer, one of the key developers of some of this most powerful technology ever we've had in humanity. And you're telling us it's a crummy application. And he said, so then the interviewer said, well, then why didn't you just wait till you had GPT-5 or GPT-6 available and just wait till you had a better product? He said, no, we were very intentional about it. He said, we wanted to get it out there early because we wanted and needed to see how society would react to the technology. So, he made the point. We've learned a lot from those first two releases being out there with over 100 million users. I think there are 200 million users now. And so I thought that was kind of interesting, the way he said this. So, everybody's kind of anticipating how much better will the current or future releases be. And that's just ChatGPT. You've got Google, you've got Anthropic. I mean, there's like, 8 that are kind of top sellers out there that are all moving at a very rapid pace in their research and development.
I have a question for you. When is ChatGPT 5 coming out?
I'm not aware of any announced release date.
Okay.
They've been doing these little incremental updates to ChatGPT 4, which I say little incremental. It's hard to keep up with. I mean, I could do nothing but spend 100% of my time trying to keep up with this stuff, and I still wouldn't be able to. That's one of the biggest challenges for all of us, is that in all the technologies I've worked with over the years, I've never seen a technology moving at such a rapid pace in terms of its evolution. And on one hand, that's good because it's getting better, very faster. But gosh, just to keep up is a full-time challenge. But I would suspect, based on your question, Gaynor, I would guess that sometime in probably 2025, we'll see it.
So it's interesting because it used to be, and I'm sure for like people who do SEO, wholly for like their living, used to be keeping up with, all the algorithm changes of Google, there was Penguin and like all of that stuff. And now, honestly, I think all of this together, with the algorithm, with Google, like it all comes back to it's pretty standard, same, principles where it's their like EAT philosophy, which is like the expertise, authority, and trust. I mean, if you just follow that, whatever they do with the algorithm, you're going to be okay. But with the Gen AI, I think what's different about that is it's really the quality of the output that you can expect based on where the tool is at. And it does have an impact, I think, on how you actually apply it. That has bigger ramifications than whether your firm is like number 3 in like the Google search rankings, right? It's because there's a lot more risk if you're using it to replace some of like the human power. And of course, humans are prone to error as well. So, I think that's probably one trend that all of this Gen AI is following, is how to get better at basically replacing some of the like human input that's necessary to come up with good output. Would you say that's correct?
Yeah, I would say that's right on point for sure. It's just, it's getting smarter. I think I'll use Sam's words. It's going to get smarter and smarter. And so the more we can, as CPAs, learn how to take advantage of it. That's why, as we discussed in some of our earlier chats, that, you really need to embrace this technology and start to begin to build the foundational awareness and understanding of it, and begin to experiment with deploying it in your firm. But don't expect it to do everything. And don't be disappointed when it just makes really bad mistakes, because it does. And you just have to know how to, work with those risks. We'll be talking more about that as we get into some of our future chats. But so in terms of like the next generation of these large language models and generative AI, the way I see it evolving, there's going to be like 3 buckets. So the first bucket of Gen AI is what we have today. We have these large language models that I just call them all-purpose models. I mean, you can use them in any field, any industry, to prompt, put in your prompts and get information back, because it has so much content. And if you haven't, for our viewers today, if you haven't watched the previous video about the, how an LLM works, I would encourage you to do that. So we have these, these big all-purpose LLMs and we have a lot of competition, which is good, right? We want them to keep each other honest through competition. Otherwise, if we just had one LLM, I'd be really concerned. The next level, which is already in play, is what we would call SLMs, small language models. Large language models, as we talked about ChatGPT-4, it has basically 1.5 trillion tokens or words in its data set. Small language models will be much smaller, and therefore they'll be much less expensive to build. And then they'll also be used by individual, probably industries more than anything else, industries or professions where they can build a small language model where the content, the data that's being trained is more specifically focused in that area. So let's use tax as an example, right? Well, the IRS code is the most important thing. You have the IRS code and the regulations. And so if I build a small language model that is built based on top of the Internal Revenue Code, then I'm going to be in a really good position to have confidence to be prompting it for questions about taxes, right? Because it's focused on tax issues, tax knowledge, tax laws, and so on. That would be a small language model. You could have the same thing, and I don't know what the AI CPA is actually doing, but it would be interesting to know that the standard settings like FASB standards board and the PCAOB, these standard setters, you'd like to think that somebody's out there beginning to develop a small language model specifically for accounting and auditing standards. Right?
I was just wondering about that. Do you know of any?
On one hand, I'd like to think that the biggies like Thomson Reuters and Wolters Kluwer are doing that. I got to believe that. There could be some smaller, innovative startup companies that are doing that. That's always interesting too, right? You've got this rapidly evolving technology. The big players like a Wolters Kluwer and Thomson Reuters, they have the big money, but do they have the ability to be as nimble as like an innovative startup that could just, get some funding and really build a very, a high quality tax or ANA standards application? But that's the concept of a small language model. And again, I think we're going to start to see a lot of those. Then the third category, so we have large language models, small language models. Then the third bucket I'm call private language models. And that's where, and we're starting to already see this in like the big four firms, where they're taking like, they're buying a copy of the ChatGPT LLM or the Google Gemini LLM, and they're building it out specific to their firm. What's their, business processes, what are their standards and so forth, and whatever content they feel they need to be able to generate content relative to their engagements. So those would be very specific. So on one hand, today we have these all-purpose LLMs, which are very, very powerful, a lot you can do with them, but the value will go up as the size goes down, that they'll become more specific and more niche. And how soon will we see these? That's the question. That's the $64,000 question, as they say. When you think about, if you take a macro look at what's going on in the market, you have NVIDIA. I mean, they can't make their chips fast enough. I mean, there's really like a dogfight going on between their customers. They're doing everything they can to say, Microsoft wants, give me the chips. Apple says, give me the chips. There's a competition out there to get, higher up on the backlog list with NVIDIA. So, and then you've got the whole power issue. I don't know if you heard, Microsoft is partnering with an energy company. They're going to refire up a 3 Mile Island nuclear reactor. And they're going to have, I don't know if they're going to have exclusive access to the power generated, but we're on track for a very severe shortage in electricity to power these data centers.
I actually have wondered about this. There was an article that somebody asked me if I knew somebody who could be a thought leader on it, about clean data centers in accounting, like specifically for the technology that's being developed. And actually my mind went to, well, what about all of like the data centers that are needed for, these, new types of tech and like Gen AI and all of that. So, in addition to kind of the questions around like the ethical use and like how far are we going to go with all of this is an environmental one as well. It's like, wow,
It's a
okay.
big problem, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, it is. So as far as these like small language models, I mean, there doesn't appear to be any right now, though, like, wow, anybody who's listening to this who has the means to develop something like that, you could make some good money, I'm sure, doing that. Is from like making your own, like the DIY way to do it. We talked a little bit about training your Gen AI in like a previous episode. How would you go about utilizing something like that in a firm now? Like, do you have any thoughts on that?
You mean like to create their own?
Like if you're, say you're an audit firm or you're doing, tax advisory and something that's like outside of, because I know that there are solution providers who are creating AI powered like tax workflows and things like that. But for firms that are like fully automating all of the like mundane workflow work, and now we're like, okay, I've got some time to figure out how I could use this to like supercharge my advisory or use create more content that I can give to my clients or reporting or something like that that you could sell. How would you go about maybe doing a project like that?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think that, we're still at this foundational period of this technology that, and it's moving very fast, as I said, that what the marketplace looks like even a year from now, certainly 2 years from now, is going to be quite different than it is today. And so it's the timing, one of the challenges of technology for every business, CPA firms and their clients, is the timing and the pace of adopting new technology. So with this generative AI, it's just my opinion, and I know there's some firms that are much further down the road than this, but most firms, they're really busy already trying to get their work out the door, right? But obviously there's opportunities to get it done quicker and maybe with higher quality with this technology. But I recommend firms at this stage use the large language models, learn how to use it, and use it primarily for the low risk types of applications, which we're going to cover in future chats here. And then, just be actively observing what's going on in the accounting and tax software development community, right? So they're all busy. All the software developers are very busy figuring out how to integrate this technology, this new AI technology into their products. And that'll be, I believe, the way most CPA firms are really going to harness the full power of this technology. It'll come through, probably applications that that are designed specifically for tax or audit and accounting
Mhm.
and so forth. But in my opinion, I think it's a little bit early to if I was leading a firm, I wouldn't be too far into spending a lot of time in that because I think the market's going to change so much over the next couple of years. But what I want to do as a CPA firm leader is I want to get my people, I want to make sure they understand generative AI. And by using an all-purpose LLM, it kind of requires them to be a little bit more proactive, right? And more thoughtful about, okay, what do I want to get from this? How do I put in my prompts? And, therefore I can generate the output I'm looking for.
Mhm. So you're saying you wouldn't spend the time to basically create your own small language model just to like I know like I actually know some firm owners who have created their own software because they
Yep.
couldn't find something in the market that they liked. Um, do you think it would be I think it would be a lower lift, like effort wise to create something around. I'm just thinking about reporting. If there was like some unique report that you wanted to be able to provide that wasn't something you could get within a solution that you're currently using, you might be able to create your own small language model application for that.
Yeah, it all depends, on the nature of your firm and what your strategy is as a firm and, what kind of resources do you have available? But,
Mhm.
we didn't really talk about this, Gaynor, but one of the biggest applications for generative AI is to write code. So
Mhm.
to build
Yeah.
applications, it's pretty amazing when you listen to people and to the extent that they're using generative AI to actually write their software programs. I have an example, and we'll probably show this down one of our future chats of using Chat GPT to create Excel macros. It's like it's amazing. You
Yeah.
upload the spreadsheet and say, build a macro to print out these 10 reports for me, and boom, it writes the code and builds the macro.
I could see that. I mean, it seems like a perfect use case for it, right? It's
Yeah.
like, wow. So from your perspective then, to move the needle with some of these kind of like future forward looking Gen I tools, and it sounds like you're saying basically wait till some of the tech vendors catch up with it. Is that correct for like
Yeah.
specific?
Now, for me, my background, I don't like to use the term wait when it comes to technology, but
I
I think
know. That's why I was like, oh.
there's so much opportunity to take advantage of what's already there today and to
Mhm.
build your knowledge of it so that then you can be better prepared to evaluate and take on these evolving technologies like the small language models and the private language models.
Mhm.
And again, but and I assume a lot of our audience is probably small, mid-sized firms that are busy just getting their client work done. But
Yeah.
if you're a larger firm and you're a very progressive firm, then yeah, go for it. If you got the resources, you can put some people out there to do some R&D. And gosh, you can go out and you can find the technology, the technical skills people to work with your accounting staff.
Mhm.
What a great marriage that is, I think, to say, okay, here's how we do this audit engagement. I need you to help me figure out how we apply AI technology to it.
Yeah. And I think that there's a lot of talent in some of the tech consultants who have been, integrating technology into firms, and then
Yeah.
they understand more of what you're actually doing. And there's a lot of those out there too. But again, it's kind of a whole new genre potentially of work. I mean, if you're an accountant too who loves tech and is, looking to do something different, this might be something to like start looking into is, if you can figure, out a few different use cases for these Gen AI tools and be able to apply it to like specific accounting firm needs, like that's a whole nother realm of revenue too. So
Yeah.
always thinking ahead on what kind of opportunities there might be, right? Not just to put the tech into your firm, but to help other people with it as well. Sure.
Yeah, we're definitely in for some interesting times. There's no question about it. I
Yeah.
mean, I could envision a world where I don't know how far off, but where you have humanoid robots working side by side with your accounting staff.
Yeah. Well, that's I guess our next little segment of our YouTube series here is going to be on applying Gen AI directly into accounting and tax practices. So we've got,
Yeah,
some episodes that are going to address some of that too. So hopefully
yeah. I think
that
those will be some real practical takeaways for the viewers to see actually how to put it to use today.
excellent. So stay tuned for those. And John, thank you for diving deep into AI for us because I think it's important, as we've said, to like have a good foundation because now we can go ahead and start really looking at how some of this underlying tech can help us in the firm, like day
Yeah.
to day as well.
Well, I'm
Great.
glad to be a part of it. So thanks for having me with you.
All right. Well, that's great. So hopefully this moved the needle for your firm today and got you thinking about, the future and how you're going to incorporate AI into the firm and don't leave it as a kind of thought leader topic. It's a real topic to start talking about in your firm for sure. So until our next episode, thank you and take care.
Okay, thanks. Goodbye, everyone.